Awesome.
Juliet, did I lose you for a second there?
Oh, I'm still here. Can you see me?
I can. Did you lose me or?
No, I think we're still.
Just to keep the drama up, I did get a message that I have an unstable connection. So
Okay, not a problem. Now that we know that, we can circumvent it.
Right. So you may have to fill in if I freeze up. But hopefully it won't be as unflattering as a freeze frame as it is in the past.
We are going to go ahead and get started. And before we even kick this off, if there are any feedback that you guys start hearing, if there are cutouts or anything like that, let us know in the comment section. I think between both of our internets lately, we've had some hiccups with tech. So we want to make sure that we're providing you with the information, but that you also are able to hear that information that we're sharing out to you. So I'll go ahead and get us kicked off. It is another Monday morning and we are full steam ahead. And I want to welcome all of you that have continued to visit this page, continue to engage with us back to our broadcast. I encourage you to continue to hit the share button on this video so others in your network can see the information in real time. Of course, if it is your very first time on our Facebook page, do not let it be the last. I hope that you'll hit that like button, that you'll also hit the notification so you can get alerted when we post and go live. You can do that when you hit the follow on the actual page. Now, at the very same time, if you are watching this on our YouTube channel, you can select the subscribe button, which will allow you to know when we go live as soon as we go live. And engaging with us on all of our social media platforms is highly encouraged. So we ask you to find us on Instagram and Twitter at Westy Chamber. Of course, on LinkedIn, Westminster Chamber of Commerce. Different channels allow us to share different messages, so we're not bombarding you with all the information through one pipeline. So again, if you find us on all of those platforms, make sure that you connect, tag us, engage with us, and we're able to share your information as well to the general public. Now, at the bottom of this video or to the side, depending on if you're watching this from your phone or computer, there is a comment section, and this is where we'll pull any of the questions or comments you might share our way. They can be comments related to anything in the community in our city. It could be questions on things that we share today, or maybe things we don't get to touch on, so that we can know how do we direct future conversations and what answers can we bring back to you on our future broadcasts. Long-winded, but I wanted to get that information out the way. I am Juliet Abdel, President and CEO of the Westminster Chamber of Commerce, and I'm always excited to hop on here and kick off the week with our mayor, who gives us not only information as it's starting to hopefully wind down in a way in a positive on COVID, but on things that are going on here in the city, in our county, resources at the state level, and even sometimes federally. So I'll go ahead and pull up our first comment, and that one comes to us from our current board chair, Peter Brissett, sharing a nice good morning message to you, the mayor, and of course myself. Thank you, Peter, for hopping on to the broadcast. Mayor Seitz, I'll go ahead and have you take over on this broadcast, and we will move along with any of the bumps that we might get from tech issues if they arise.
Thank you, Juliet, and thank you to the Chamber for letting me be your guest every single Monday. Juliet and I always want to make sure that the information I'm providing is relevant and interesting for you. So if you have suggestions or questions about what is the city working on or things you'd like me to address, please let her know, because honestly, as COVID is winding down, there's going to be less to talk about that. Thank goodness. I'm sure we've all talked about that more than we ever wanted to. So I'd be happy to use this time to really address your needs. today I just wanted to start by kind of what happened last week. And I'll start with the Westminster City Council meeting from last Monday. During City Manager Tripp's comments, he asked Council for a little bit of clarification as far as the water rate recommendation that had been rejected, wanting to present some alternatives that might meet council's needs. There had been, I think, from at least two councilors, some desire to maybe look at the tier structure. And so staff wanted to understand, do you want to lower one tier price point and then raise the other tier price point so that the projected revenue would remain the same? Or are you looking at a rate reduction? And so there was I think a lot of conversation around that, and we will be getting some reactions from staff as to what they recommend based off of that. Next, as I mentioned, we did have our discussion about the streets condition and the investment needed. And Westminster, like most communities around us, is having difficulty keeping up with the decline in the quality of our roads. And so that was a sobering conversation, and obviously something we need to keep our eyes on. Finally, we had the transportation and mobility plan. And I have included a link for the chamber to share. This is the time that we want more community input and review of this plan. This is an important part of Westminster Forward. It's looking forward for 20 years on how we want our transportation system to meet the needs of residents and businesses. So I'd invite you to look it over and please let us know what your feedback is. Okay, so that's all I have as far as City Council from last week. Are there any questions?
I don't see any questions on your sites, but I did want to just flash a second time. Here is the link that you're referencing in regard to transportation mobility plan, the open stakeholder conversation that's presently taking place. I've quickly included some notes from discussion of the last city council meeting, including water rates and roads. And during that time, we had Parker Brown hop on and just give a quick good morning our way. So just wanted to share that. I don't see any questions on past conversations with city council. So let's move forward with what's ahead on your plate now.
Well, let's go in. There's some exciting business news last week that I'm sure some of you might have caught some of these things, but I wanted to highlight. There's three big things that happened last week. It was announced that Trimble is leaving Boulder and they are going to consolidate their headquarters in Westminster. I've included a link to that news article, but this is great for our business community and for having those high quality jobs here in the community. The next is Westminster was chosen to be the Shed's first flagship store in the country. So it's going to be adjacent to our new downtown development. So I don't know if you're familiar with the Shed. My husband does not get excited about anything retail ever. And he's pumped on this place because you can go and rent those items that you really only need to use a few times a year, like teardrop trailers or pressure washers or excavators. So it will be a huge rental center that you can go and take a peek at. Honestly, everything from tiki bars to fine china. It's kind of that idea of a shared economy. And, you know, a lot of us don't have storage space for these items that we use, and it's not the highest and best use of our dollars. So this is a neat alternative, but check it out. It's called The Shed, and it'll be coming to near the downtown Westminster development. And then finally, a downtown Westminster development yet again, and this one's super exciting to me. Mark Shaker is adding his fourth food hall to the new downtown. So this will be in the Aspire building that's currently right on the plaza. He is the co-founder of the Aurora Stanley Marketplace, Denver's Broadway Market, and the Golden Mill in Golden. So it's going to be a 12,000 foot food hall, 12,000 square foot rather, food hall. And it will be underneath that 226 unit apartment building at the Aspire. It's going to be called Westminster Alley. And there's going to be fun murals throughout it. His concept is going to be ethnic and comfort food, and he wants it to feel like you're walking through alleys of New York. So it's going to be interesting architecture as well. So Don't get all ready dressed up for date night just yet. It is going to start the build in August and will be opened in May of 2022.
Well, that is some pretty great progress. Three major developments that are happening. The Trumbull one is incredibly exciting. The consolidation, it seems like over 140 jobs that may be lost for Boulder, but on our lens, they're really putting to use this 60,000 square foot building that they purchased back in July of 2019. So that's huge dollars that are going to be coming here in terms of investing in that structure and investing in workforce, and of course everything that complements that. We also talk about the Shed's first flagship store, which is super exciting, and then the last being the food hall, which I know we've had some great rumblings on recently. So all that information, we've also included a quick link to the downtown Westminster page for anyone that's interested in finding out more about the last two, particularly the food hall and Shed. And if you're interested in the details about the consolidation of Trumbull into Westminster, so it's a consolidation from Broomfield, but an expansion really here in our local community, you can find that link here inside of the comment section. So I don't see additional feedback quite yet, so let's keep on moving.
Okay, well, I wanted to highlight a few things this week that are really important that I don't want you to miss. The deadline for the Small Business Capital Projects Grant program through the city is July 1st. So that's very soon. The Small Business Capital Projects Grant program provides project-related financial assistance on a reimbursement basis to encourage the growth and retention of existing Westminster businesses. So the program reimburses 10% of the costs of real property improvements or tangible property purchases up to a maximum of $5,000 per business per calendar year. So obviously, since this is a reimbursement program, if you've invested in your company, Westminster may assist you with that. So we're going to include the link here so you can look at the application and see if your investment qualifies.
That is great. And I know this is one of the many programs that the city offers. And so it really encourage anyone to take a look at that application, apply if it makes sense for you. If you plan on already doing something, then this can feed into that plan pretty well and support you with some dollars after you get started and going. But you have to submit it prior to actually starting the project, is my understanding. So that way we're all on the same page and the same loop.
Correct. Mm-hmm. And next, I wanted to talk about something I'm doing actually immediately after this. I am going to be participating in a filming of a video that will be used to educate water utilities and municipalities nationwide on how to integrate land use and water resource planning. So, there's been so much talk about water in the community, and I think it's important to remind people that we are literally seen as a national leader in the amount of planning and forethought we put into the integration of our land use plans and our water supply plans. And so the Babbitt Center for Land and Water Policy, they're part of the Lincoln Land Institute, which is a nonprofit, nonpartisan group that works on land use issues for over 75 years, is creating this film. They're going to highlight Westminster, Colorado, and also Flagstaff, Arizona as model communities in the film to help replicate the way we approach this. So this is, it's an exciting time to talk positively about our leadership in water and how we save people money over time by being really thoughtful and intentional in how we develop. Are there any questions on that?
No questions. I do see a thumbs up from Kat, so it sounds like some of this information is being absorbed and people are tuning in still.
And for anyone who's worried about it, we did make they had talked about doing this pre-pandemic and it slowed down. And so we did say for me to participate, I would like to wait for the film to be released until after any upcoming elections. So it's not city resources. This is the nonprofit that is doing this. And then finally, I wanted people to know that the City Park Fitness Center is closed from today through July 2nd for maintenance. So just enjoy one of the other city rec centers if you have plans to work out this week. Then tonight's agenda is a very full agenda yet again. In addition to the issues that I'm going to highlight, there is going to be a vote on part of the Sheridan Multimodal Transportation Improvement Project. This is something that we have lobbied for years to get federal dollars for. We've been successful. So this is kind of just another step in that process, but I do want to highlight it because it has been such a long time goal of the city. Then we also will be talking about some IGAs with urban drainage. There will be other street and transportation improvements when near Sims. We'll be talking about body-worn cameras and kind of increasing that contract to really meet the needs of how officers operate their duties every single day. And then we'll have the second reading for oil and gas land use regulations. Are there any questions on those issues?
I don't see any questions on those issues, but what I'll go ahead and do is pull up the agenda link that you've been kind enough to share. This actually will capture some of the items that you've referenced. I know, Mayor, that you've highlighted some significant ones that you wanted to raise attention to, from the IGA and urban draining all the way to this really long sought after improvement in terms of transportation to Sheridan's multimodal and a few other items that you've referenced. But for specifics or details, folks can go directly to this link and find the agenda in its fullest. I see with me our past chair, Brian Dice. Thank you for hopping on here. And Tina Francone has given us a question. This question comes to us in regard to the city's green energy plan. So Tina's asking, does the city have a green energy plan to make facilities more sustainable?
Love the question. So the city has been working really hard in this area, receiving a good chunk of the power that we use from solar. We also have the geothermal that is at City Hall. So we participate in solar gardens to help with the city energy consumption. We also have been increasing the amount of electric car chargers, EV chargers at City Hall. And we will have this year our first sustainability plan to look not just internally on how we can improve our carbon footprint and our environmental impact, but externally through all our processes and programs, how can we facilitate that? So that is something that we're looking at. And obviously you gotta walk the talk. So making sure we have our ducks in the row as a city, but it's a great question. What's really cool about it is we save money in doing it too, right? So we can do the right thing and also lower the impact on the on taxpayers. So it's all good.
Absolutely.
I wanted to highlight that we are open to the public. So if you have a burning question you want to know about sustainability in Westminster, or you want to let us know about a pothole in your neighborhood, you are more than welcome to come to City Hall tonight at 7:00 and for public comment. But if you'd prefer to participate from the comfort of your home, you can also do that. You have to do it by noon today, but you can either email at public comment at City of Westminster your questions, or you can leave a voicemail. You have to do that again by noon. And I don't know if you're able to, Juliet, copy the phone number that people can leave their voicemail messages. They can only be 5 minutes long, or you can sign up to speak live during the virtual online platform. So you can talk to us live. You do need to email the city clerk if you'd like to do that by noon today. And we also have that email address. So there's lots of ways. That's one of the pros of COVID, is we did learn how to kind of expand how people could participate in our meetings.
I think that's terrific. So if anyone is interested in person, they have that option now. If you plan on just tuning in virtually, of course, you can submit an email to the public comment by noon. If you plan on speaking live, then it would be to the city clerk's email, which we've also included for you all in the comment section of this broadcast. So great ways that you can stay engaged either from your couch or in person if you're dying to get out there and see everyone. Tina was sharing just a quick good morning and thank you for that comment. Mayor, appreciate you answering that question for her.
Not a problem. I'd like to just very briefly highlight two things that will be on our agenda tonight. And both of them are things we can do. One where they're both responses, I think, to COVID in a way. as many other businesses, I bet a lot of the business owners and managers on this today are recognizing it's getting hard to recruit staff. And so Westminster is looking at our benefits program to see how do we change this to make it more in line with some of our communities we compete with for talent. And so we have, with our benefit or retirement plan, a 10.25% employer match, but currently you have to wait 22 months before we contribute to that, and it's not a match, a contribution. What we are going to vote on tonight is change that to immediate contributions over a 5-year vesting period. So right now you have to wait 22 months before it starts, and then you're vested 100%. It would start day one, but the vesting would be prorated over a 5-year period. So that has been recommended to us by our HR department and our CFO to try to increase our competitivity with the neighboring communities. Are there any questions on that?
I don't see any questions on it, but I do have a quick question for you as it relates to this, just out of sheer curiosity. We were one of the fewest cities that actually were able to allocate the resources of our employees and get them to work in numerous capacities during COVID. I know some were very less fortunate. If you look at our neighbors in Broomfield, even Boulder, they lost a good number, had to let go a few of their employees. My understanding was the city did not necessarily let go of employees. We put a freeze, right? So we put a freeze on future ones, on some of our seasonal or temp, and those. So when we would talk about competitiveness and changing our package to be more attractive, is there an opportunity for additional growth for the city, or is this in a way to try and retain our existing employees that we've been able to over this last year and into the future?
Right. So it'll definitely be great for those employees that have been here 22 months or less. But the next item I'm going to talk about really will talk about some of that loosening of the restrictions that we had to put in, because we did fare well comparatively over the pandemic. Part of that was because of really good modeling that we did. We didn't, we weren't overly tippy. We were very measured in our response. So I'll just go into that. We now, tonight, the second item is, because we did so much better than we contemplated, we get to revisit some of the tough cuts that we initially made in an attempt to budget for 2021. So the revenue streams that support the general government activities experienced significant shortfalls in 2020. But those losses were offset because one of the cost-saving actions undertaken by staff, which included what you just mentioned, that strategic hiring plan or freeze. The use of 2019 savings to backfill 2020 revenue loss, and then the federal assistance that we received. So because of all of that, we're doing better. And then based off of revenue trends at the end of 2020 and through April of 2021, we created and reviewed forecasts for the remainder of 2021. And we believe that we're going to have between $2 million and $10 million above the 2021 budget, allowing us to make some really strategic decisions on where do we invest those dollars. So the areas that we're going to look, we want to maintain that we're a customer-focused organization and our customers being residents. We need to meet the challenges of a post-COVID world. And 3, we need to provide resources necessary to make sure we achieve our strategic plan outcomes. So to do this, we're going to amend the 2021 budget to eliminate some reductions, such as, and I'm going to talk about all of them, not just staffing, just to get it all out at once, but we're going to reinstate reductions related to libraries, parks, rec centers, and pool hours and operations. This is important. A good chunk of our residents are vaccinated and ready to get back out, and they want to participate in the city in a pre-COVID manner. And so we need to have services that match that latent demand for services. Release additional vacancies that were vacancy savings. So these are the hiring freezes that were in parks, recs, and libraries. Reinstate unbudgeted positions. So some of those hiring freeze, and reinstate employee development. So people can go back to getting their training so they can continue to serve the community to the best of their ability. So we're also going to have a pay increase, and market-based and competitive pay and benefits is important to both recruit and retain staff. So we are going to have a 2% market adjustment to the pay ranges.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're also doing a $2 per hour increase to help with our seasonal workers, because we were having such difficulty in getting them this summer. So those are kind of some of the highlights. Does that answer your question?
Oh, I thought this was perfect, and you and I usually are just kind of generally think the same. So the natural progression of thought was, okay, so if this, then what? And so I think that that's a great way of answering, why is there this need of reassessing the packages and the opportunity for folks? Is it more focused on retention and recruitment? Really, it's essentially both. And then I was glad to see that you went in detail on kind of what the driving forces are behind amending this 2021 budget that you all have the opportunity of. And we've commented what those key areas of amendments are, of course, focusing on providing quality customer service, meeting the challenges post-COVID, and provide resources for the city's draft plan. Of course, the staff has gone in detail on how is that going to happen, right? So these are the objectives. Now, here are the goals behind it. We talk about areas of reinstatement, parks, rec, and library, the pool area, releasing additional vacancy savings in those areas as well, and a reinstatement of unbudgeted positions and employee development areas, which are all crucial to kind of the continuation and moving the city forward. So I'm glad that you've shared those areas. And yes, it does answer that question.
And I would just say this, in some ways, it was heartbreaking to make really hard budget cuts in order to balance the budget for 2021. As you get funding back, right, you can reopen and relook at those priorities. And that's difficult and challenging too. And I think our staff did a great job by putting our community and the strategic plan at the center of that conversation, and really making decisions as far as hiring, pay increases that are connected to serving our residents. So I have included, I think Juliet's put it up here so you can look at the agenda tonight. This is a detailed document that goes into the rationale for all of the recommendations. I would recommend looking at it. I think it's very well done, very well thought out and proven out. But would be happy to entertain any questions or comments you may have.
Of course. And I've placed the agenda one more time on the screen for those of you that are just now hopping on, so you can see where it's referenced. It's, of course, referenced in the comment section. I see Emilio on here with us. I also see Councillor Bowles giving us a nice good morning message, both to the mayor and myself. Thank you, Councillor, for hopping on here. Dave Carpenter is also on here, and I believe he's sharing a quick comment, maybe a question. Let's see. Dave is sharing that this will help with removing the US 36 bikeway from crossing at grade at 88th and Sheridan. Glad to see this moving forward, even though the construction period. Okay, perfect. So he is referencing earlier on the discussion around this multimodal Sheridan infrastructure dollars going toward this. Of course, it's been a project in the long run. So he's reiterating that that's going to be a benefit to that part of our community.
Absolutely. It's safety, it's ease of mobility, it's all of the things that we really need to improve that corridor.
Okay.
And it's really nice when we can get federal assistance to get that done.
Right, when you can get the funds to get it done.
Yeah.
We have a couple minutes, so is there anything, I know you always have ample information that we want to get out there, so are there key things left over that we want to get across before we start wrapping things up?
Yeah, I think we need to talk about fun. So we are so delighted that this 4th of July, we're going to have fireworks at our downtown, or not at our downtown, at our city park. And so I am hoping that you can all join us. It'll start at 9:15. There will be shuttles either coming from Front Range Community College or from the MAC. You do have to wear a mask at the shuttles or on the shuttles. And they will start as early as 7 o'clock. There's not going to be a show, so there won't be food trucks. You're going to have to pack your own picnic, but it's really nice to get together to celebrate this wonderful country that we live in and the freedoms that we enjoy. So I hope that council will see you all there. If you don't want to come out in the evening and you're craving something to do during the day, the city is partnering with North Glen. You can go to their website to learn about the day-long festivities that they're going to have in North Glen. And then I think we are out of time, so I will talk about the next program next week.
Okay, thank you so much. Sorry about that, Mayor. We did
Wow, I'm
end
always
up.
long-winded. It's not
We
your fault. It's
do.
fine.
It is great information. And so, for those of you that are starting to hop on, I see Sylvia and I see a few others that are starting to tune in. Kat was sharing how she's very excited to take her daughter to firework, her very first one as a newborn. So, thank you for tuning into the broadcast, Kat, and of course for listening to that, the fun part of it. For all of you that do end up watching this and we are no longer live, give us the hashtag replay so we know you tuned in. Comment or give us any questions that you may have. Even when we're no longer live, we pull that information so we can get it addressed for you. You can also feel free to DM the page directly with any questions that you may have. We've included a number of links for you inside of this broadcast. You will find the agenda link to the city council meeting, emails that you can be in touch with if you plan on speaking live or in person or just virtually. Of course, it also has information about the new developments in our downtown area, some of the consolidation that's happening with a primary employer and how that will impact us to the betterment here in the city. We've touched on a number of items as it relates to 2021 budget reallocation that may be transpiring based on staff feedback and based on how we were able to overcome some of those anticipated losses during the time of COVID. So now that we have this opportunity, why not take a chance at redirecting the dollars toward much needed things? So, of course, thank you to you all for tuning into the broadcast and to the mayor for spending part of her morning with us. I hope the rest of your day and the rest of your week goes amazingly, and I will see you again next week, if not before then.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.